Self-compassion is different, and it's learning to speak to yourself with kindness and learning to treat people with kindness and really give them the benefit of the doubt.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Women Worldwide. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being here. We appreciate you. You're helping to grow this network. You're also always sharing and letting us know what's going on, how you're feeling, and how you're doing out there. Okay. Well, I want to get right to today's topic and special guests. That's right. I have two today, and I can't wait for you to meet them. The topic is more laughter in our lives and in our work, and we need more laughter. And these two ladies, they know a thing too about laughter. Joining me on the show are Elaine Williams and Kathy Keegan. So I'm just going to do super short, brief bios because there's a lot that I could say. Starting with Elaine. Elaine is an award-winning comedian. She's a speaker and a performance coach. She's also an author of 3 books. And then there is Kathy. Now, Kathy has done different things and made pivots in her career, from being an admin and a manager to an opera singer and an improv comedian. And now she is a mindset coach. These two ladies have come together and they have a podcast. It's called Still Human with Kathy and Elaine. And it's a podcast where they think and talk and laugh about all the things that go on in work and life. So Elaine, Kathy, welcome. Welcome to Women Worldwide.
Thank you. Thank you, Deirdre. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yes.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And I love when I have two guests. It's always so much fun. And I feel like I am going to laugh a lot after all. That's how I lined up this topic. But I would like to ask, before we dive into your podcast, how did you come together? What was it about your backgrounds and how did you meet? So who wants to go first?
I'm going to start and just say that we collided into each other by joining a women's networking group at the exact same time. And the thing about Elaine that's fabulous is that she loves to reach out to people. I'm an introvert. I love talking to people, but I don't tend to do that. She called me up right away and said, "Hey, how are you?" And that's how we met. We just started chatting. And then as we spent time together at different meetings, we just realized that we could talk and talk or not talk for hours and still feel really good about it. So that's pretty much how we met. Then, so you take it away, Elaine.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. Yes, and that's a really good job. So yeah, we were working together on her stories, and we were doing Zoom and recording them, which I do with all my clients because it's a great way to capture the genius, the brilliance. And we kept laughing, but I kept saying, "Kathy, you're dropping these pearls of wisdom." And she'd say, "Well, so are you." And so it's this sort of this organic thing of like, I think this is supposed to be a podcast.
Right. And then we both found out we were former addicts. I mean, come on, nothing like bonding over those sorts of things.
Exactly.
But we had so many similarities just in how we went through life and the struggles that we had. And we also had been through a number of these masterminds where they don't give you all the details. You know, it's so great if someone gives you like 8 things to do to change your life immediately, but there's a lot of work in between step 1 and step 8. And so we wanted to kind of go behind the scenes a little bit and just be the humans that we are and talk about the challenges that we faced as we did things, and to find humor in it too, because you got to laugh. I mean, I don't have to laugh, but I laugh because it's a great way to release tension. It's so good for you.
They
so
say
good
that.
for you.
They say laughter is the best thing that you can do for your health.
Yep. I would keep a little video tucked away so that when you're having a tough moment, you just go watch a minute of the video, start laughing, and then move on. It's a nice little tool.
Brilliant. I love it.
I love it too. Did you have any idea? So you get together, you meet in the networking group, you're spending time, you're laughing, you're talking, you're sharing. and you have this aha, oh, it's a podcast. This is a podcast. Did you know anything about podcasting?
A little bit. I love to listen to things while I do what I consider tedious, like cooking or cleaning or laundry or yard work. So I listen to books, but I kept listening to this one podcast that's all about these two women, and they use comedy to talk about tough subjects. Yeah. And they're very real, and they talk about mental health and therapy. So they were really that inspiration for me of like, whatever we did, I wanted it to be very conversational and real and not be like, and now, Kathy, talk about the 3 points of being a super coach. And then she's going to tell us about her masterclass, and I've been guilty of having an announcer voice. And I was like, oh, please don't let me do that to myself or anyone else. So, we wanted it to be conversational and fun, no matter what the topic was going to be.
Elaine, I only have 3 slots left. So please very quickly respond. No, I'm only kidding. But it's true. It's true. And the name of that podcast actually is My Favorite Murder. And they're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. And it just goes to show you, because humor is a part of life and humor belongs just about everywhere. Not all the time, but it does have a place as part of how we live every day.
Absolutely. What do you say to people who are taking things really seriously and it's taking a toll on them? Is there a way to get them to shift more to be lighter or laughter? Or is that just something that they have to figure out on their own?
You can, sometimes I'll ask, is there another way to look at this? Or I might make a joke about it, something that they're seeing. And sometimes my humor will come out of nowhere. And so at first people think I'm being serious. And then when they realize I'm not, then they start to laugh. But I think one of the things we're learning about the brain is that we have such an ability to change, an ability to rewire.
Yes.
That I see it as an opportunity to say, what's another way to think of it?
That's great.
I love it. And sometimes I will say something like, yeah, welcome to being human. If I'm coaching somebody and they're like, I can't believe I did. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you're human. And then of course, sometimes I have to be like, I'm sorry if I offended you. Sometimes I'm like, I was just trying to bring a little levity to the thing. And I do like to make fun of myself too, because that's never ending. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to try. And sometimes just speaking something that's truthful, like January is self-hatred month.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like speaking things that are sort of common but not spoken out loud. That's why people like to watch comedians, because they say the things everybody else is just thinking.
Is thinking but won't say.
Right.
Interesting. So talk about a little bit, any challenges along the way as you were launching your show, or even now, what's some of the success? What do you love about it?
Well, the technical challenges are hilarious, because one of the things that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, people don't read instructions. It doesn't matter how clear. So when you sent me things to say, here are some of the ideas that we're talking about or questions, I read them. I follow the instructions. I go step by step. And we do that. We'll send that out. And then you get someone who's on there and their head is down here and they're trying to fix the thing. And so sometimes we would run into these technical difficulties, and they're so frustrating because you don't have a lot of power to fix them.
Right.
And so all you can do is really laugh.
That's right. Well, that's good. We can laugh.
And you know what? I'm a big fan of, if you keep saying you're going to do something and then you keep sort of putting it off, I always think that's a good, like, ding, 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 maybe I should get some help with this. So like Kathy was trying to find an editor, and then I was like, I can kind of edit. And at the rate we were going, we would have had 1 million episodes that never got edited or posted. And so I'm so grateful that we took the leap of faith and we found a great team. So that was really, otherwise we'd still be along in the closet.
I would say foundering is a good word. And I have got a tip from you too, Deirdre, when you started with a timer. I think that's something we need to consider, Elaine.
Yes.
Isn't it better with the timers? It's better with the timers.
Yes, no, absolutely. The timer helps. The team helps. Sometimes, I don't know, this might be an entrepreneurial thing, but you think you can do everything. You don't know what you don't know. And then all of a sudden you realize that, oh my gosh, you need the podcasting team to help you with the audio. There's somebody who can do the video. Oh, they can share your social media. You can get everything distributed. Oh my goodness.
Oh, right.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
It really is this thing. There's something in us that wants to be able to really master something, and it's sort of like, could I change the oil in my car? Yes, I could. But maybe I just want to hire someone who does it all the time. And it's easy for them. So that's it. We really were trying so hard to do it on our own. And, it's a question someone just gave me to ask when I'm in sort of a pickle, is to say, who can help me with this? And so I'm learning to say that more frequently, just because I do like to try to solve things on my own, and it doesn't really get me anywhere, and nobody awards me any medals except Elaine. She'll give me,
Elaine gives you a gold star.
Right.
That's so good. Tell me, so Elaine, what are maybe some of the topics or things that you discuss that you feel your audience really appreciate?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, I teach storytelling and how to be confident on camera. And I think there's this whole thing of like, we want to look like we've got it all together, right? But really what's engaging is being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so I love talking about being vulnerable and sharing, having the courage to share like the parts when you messed up, or you really, and I like considering myself like a master in progress. Like I'm always learning and evolving and adding to my programs and coaching. But so, yeah, I love to talk about storytelling and really being authentic and vulnerable, and, like things like vocal variety. A lot of times people get nervous and we kind of get in this thing where this is my teaching voice. Can you hear me? Okay, class, behave, so having some vocal variety, and Kathy
Yes.
says that too. Kathy breaks into song, which I love.
Well, emphasizing the right syllables, because then people understand us better. And that's Elaine's brilliance, is really about the storytelling, because, she'd ask me about something, and then she'd say, and what else? And what else? And what else? And I was like, the 16th time I was ready to kill her, except that she got to the root of the story and what was really underneath, right? And that's the challenge to really get to, because I can present all day in some ways because I learned how to do that in the corporate world. And also improv taught me to be fairly quick on my feet, but it's not the same as just saying what's really going on with you.
Right. It's that why. And why? And why? I know in the corporate world, you have to ask why. Well, why? Well, why? Why did you do that? Quite a few times to get there. It reminds me of, when you're with a 2-year-old, they just keep asking questions. So there you go. I can't wait to ask this question, because I would love to hear from each of you some kind of aha moment. That moment when it strikes you that, oh my gosh, I get this. And it's a moment, it's a learning lesson that just lasts for however long. Do you have a moment like that you can share? And it could be an uh-oh moment too.
So I love being vulnerable and heart-centered and from the inside out. And I have this ego, right? I have this ego, especially if I'm putting time and attention and money towards something. And so I noticed, I don't know exactly how long ago, but I was kind of like freaking out, like, oh my God, we've been doing this for X amount of times. And I had this opinion about where we should have gotten with our numbers. And it was totally coming from a place of like my head and ego. and I was pushing and forcing, and thank God Kathy knows me well enough to be like, okay, there, oh, she's doing her thing or whatever. And so I came to kind of my own conclusion and then shared it with her later of just like, I love doing this. I love connecting with her and with our guests. And I'm committed to keep going. And I get to continue to let go of what I think it's supposed to be. So that was a real whew. And
aha.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was like an uh-oh and then an aha. And luckily Kathy didn't like divorce me or anything. So
Oh, well, that's good.
No, it's all about our relationship. It's a yes and relationship, with our nod to improv, but it's really just learning to understand each other and being able to communicate from the heart. And
Absolutely.
that's not easy. I mean, my family hereditarily, it's Irish. I did one of those 23andMe's, and it was just sort of like, oh my God, you're 100% British Isles Irish,
Oh,
and it's just sort of like, really? Like nobody else came along?
there's no one else there.
And so there's
hashtag Kathy's so white.
I know, it's so true. And it's sort of like these aspects of it that are, sort of, they'd rather crawl into the hills and die than let anybody know they have an emotion. And that's always been a real challenge. And, I've had wake up calls, like cancer. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? Well, people like me at work. That's good. I'll stay here another 5 years and make myself sick. So you have to also listen to those things and be aware of those things. My biggest ahas have been recently, where I've just finally discovered, I don't like to use the word finally, but I will, the learning process, the way things build on the other things, fluency. How do you build fluency? Now, that's not hilarious, but the whole idea of, there's a fine line between clever and stupid. There's a fine line, that's a nod to Spinal Tap, but there's also a fine line between insanity and mastery. So what is insanity? Doing the same thing over, expecting a different result, but mastery is doing the same thing over and over again and getting better at it. And the other side of that, of the still human part, is not to become so infatuated with what I'm learning that I feel like I'm the world expert on anything. There's always that tension between sort of like beginner's mind and being an expert in something.
That's really interesting. Excellent moments. So in all your moments and all the things that you're doing, performance coach, mindset coach, you have your podcast, what about, and you laugh a lot. There's no doubt. You make me laugh too. So thank you for that.
Good.
What about stress? There has to be stress weaved in somewhere. And besides laughing, what do you do?
Oh, we don't have stress, right?
All right. No, all right. Cause we're still human. Wait, yes, no, it's, I think it's hilarious. The timing of all of this, I am pretty spiritual, and yesterday was one of the most stressful days I have had in a long time. And it was, for me, it was a series of unfortunate, I was like overtired and had a breakdown in communication. My VA was away for 2 weeks, and there were a lot of,
and things just spiral from there.
And I'm the leader in my business, but I sort of accidentally became the victim of her, instead of saying, okay, how can we get this, I just became a victim. And then I allowed another sort of accountability person he's going through a really hard time. And I had to set a boundary, and he got kind of, and, it was just like a whole series of things. And I just found myself sobbing, but it felt good. It felt good.
Because it was a release.
Yeah. And I don't want to wallow, but I realized, because I'm also taking care of a dear friend who's starting to transition. And, that's emotional, right?
Yes.
And obviously I don't want to go there and be like, Right.
Because your strength there.
I want to be strong for them, So it was a whole combination, like frustration, anger, fear, mad. And it just felt so good to let myself cry and eat vegetables instead of ice cream, which used to be my go-to, which is like my crack now. And then I got on my spin bike, which has been like the best investment. I love having my own
That's
spin
so
bike
good.
just to sweat and kind of let it out, because I think we all need to have places that we can release that do
Yes.
not involve eating, drinking, gambling, smoking, shopping, all that. So that's
That's
how I
good,
dealt with
healthy
it.
releases.
Yeah. And that's
Really
taken a long
good.
time to sort of get to that place for me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's here. Stress is real,
Mhm.
and there are different kinds of stress. If you want to get all technical, it's like eustress, me stress. No, it's something called eustress, and the thing is, when you realize that there has to be a certain amount of tension to even say words. So all stress isn't bad. Also, there are certain things like fear and excitement that actually read the same in the body. And
Huh.
so it's in some ways the differential might be how you look at it again. So coming back to that question. And the same thing, I've had to learn productive, good ways to release tension. Sometimes it's playing a word game for a little while, dissociating, watching something funny, like I said earlier, writing something down. Sometimes, I'll write in my journal, and my practice of writing, I try to keep it up, but sometimes I just write one word and it's a swear, and that's the word, and it's in huge letters and it takes up the whole page. But I give myself permission to do those things because I'm human and it's what I need to do to release. So laughter, crying, release. And I love yours. I'm going to go with crying and vegetables.
I find that fascinating. Crying and vegetable. I mean, crying and fruit. Well, ice cream, sweet, crying and fruit. That's amazing. I don't know if I can do that. I love
it.
I just don't know if I'd pull for the carrot.
Right.
Right.
But I can't even believe it. We are nearing the end of the show.
Oh no, so fun.
It's been so much fun. Maybe you could just, each of you, give parting advice on work and life and laughter. So Elaine, you go first.
Oh wow. One thing I'm still working on is self-compassion. And that's one reason I think I just love comedy and humor, because when we can laugh at ourselves, we can't control the outside world, right? There's so much happening. But when you can have a sense of humor about yourself or your situation, I think it helps you remember that you're bigger than any circumstance. And true love and true quality of life is really an inside job, and I can forget that in a New York second. And then if you're really ever really, really stuck, go on YouTube, put in Brian Regan, Wanda Sykes. I mean, there's so many great people that we can see for free or hear, and, let them take you on their journey. And that to me is just one of the best ways.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Kathy?
Oh my God. I just, it must be like 4:00 somewhere because I just forgot the question.
It's your advice on.
Oh, yes. My advice. Remember questions that podcasting hosts ask you, especially when they're simple and straightforward. It's some of it is about, I think, the self-compassion too. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you talk about self-esteem, but self-esteem is about perfectionism. Self-compassion is different. And it's learning to speak to yourself with kindness and learning to treat people with kindness and really give them the benefit of the doubt. There's sometimes that we will make an assumption and it's known. We just do it automatically. It's how we wired. When that happens, say someone cuts you off in traffic, just stop for a minute and say, maybe something bad's happening. Maybe it isn't because they're a jerk. But if we can give people the benefit of the doubt, I think it's so important.
That's really good. Self-love, self-compassion, more laughter. Well, you ladies are fantastic. And now you get to share where people can find you. So Elaine, where do you want people to find you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I would say, please come to captivatethecrowd.com and grab, I have a confidence checklist that is a really simple, cool handout that you can print out. It can help you whether you're on Zoom or a big important meeting. And then also please come to our podcast, Still Human, which is on Apple, Stitcher, Google, and Spotify, and YouTube. Still Human with Kathy and Elaine. I promise it'll be fun and you will learn in between your laughter.
That's so awesome. And I actually remembered this question. So if you're feeling stuck, trapped, pigeonholed in your work, in your career, I would love to chat with you. My website's kathykeegan.com, and that's KathyKeegan.com, and sign up for a 30-minute chat with me, and we'll talk through and see what's going on with you and see if there's some ways to get some traction and move you in the direction you want to go.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for sharing your journey, for making us laugh, and just all of your insights and advice. So thank you.
Thanks, Deirdre.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. And thank you to all of you for tuning into Women Worldwide. You know, I always say, keep the conversations going and the feedback coming. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Dee Breckenridge. And of course, connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, friends, until our next episode, stay focused, energized, and feeling empowered. Thank you.